Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics, and today I have a special guest with me, Bonnie Sullivan from All Through the Night. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for coming out. We flew her out of Portland. She lives in Salem, and you may or may not be familiar with Bonnie. I can almost guarantee you've probably sewn with some of her fabric or used one of her patterns in the past. So let's learn more about who Bonnie Sullivan is. Right here on the table, Bonnie brought with her today the Bertie's Year Stitcheries. That was a 12-month club that we offered and actually sold out of, and now have some individual kits still available, pre-fused and laser cut, and they are just absolutely precious. So Bonnie, can you just tell us a little bit more about the stitcheries and the name? I found the name Bertie's so curious.
Oh, sure.
Where did the Bertie's name come from?
Well, actually, my grandfather's name was Bert, and
Okay.
it's spelled B-E-R-T, so it's kind of a play on words. So this is Bertie's Year, and I just tried, I like whimsical things. I like kind of making animals come to life a little bit. So each one is embellished with either little hats. Now, I'm not sure my grandfather would have worn something like rabbit ears.
That's cute.
But each one has their own special little thing. And February's here is one of my favorites because this would be Bertie and this would be Ruby, my grandmother.
Oh,
So, yeah.
that is so special. And do they also live in Oregon? Did you all live close?
We all lived close by. They lived in Aurora, so not too far
Aw.
away. Yeah.
That is fantastic. And now Bonnie's been designing patterns for 12 years now. And notice these beautiful fabrics here and on the Bertie's Winter Project, which we'll be telling you more about. Not only did Bonnie design these patterns, but she designed the fabrics, which is even more incredible to me. The Woolies Flannel by Maywood Studio, that is completely your concept, right?
Yes. Well, I started, my first quilt market was in 2012. And I took a line of penny rugs because that's what I started working with was wool.
Oh,
and
okay.
then when I got together with Maywood, I asked them if we could design some flannel that looked like wool. And for a few reasons. One is cost effectiveness. The flannel is much more, and some people are allergic to wool.
That's true.
And if you're making a big project, I love mixing the two. So the flannels for the background and the wool applique on top works great. But I did do this set of Bertie's Year. Both this particular one has the wool applique on top.
Oh, right.
But I've remade the whole set with the flannel applique on top, and you can barely tell a difference in them.
And that's what our kits are, is the Woolies Flannels designed by you.
Yes.
And those are pre-fused and laser cut. It makes it so fun.
Yes.
So all of the pieces here have the heat and bond on the back, and they've been laser cut, so you literally peel the backing off, iron it down, and stitch around the edge. So this was Bertie's Year. This is where it started. And now the new project, Bertie's Winter, which I absolutely fell in love with immediately. And in fact, I asked Bonnie to bring the project out with her. And of course, all the shops are wanting to have a trunk show. And so the quilt was loaned out.
It was gone,
And so I thought, what am I going to do now?
And I'm going, well, maybe I can find some quilter friends to do this, but yeah.
And then I thought, well, hello, I've already laser cut this kit. So we were able to pull the project together in just, I think it was 4 or 5 days. And so I have a pre-fused laser cut block that I wanted to actually show you. Of course, Bonnie did the heat and bond tracing and the cutting, right?
Yes, I did the, like I tell you to do in the patterns, to trace around the pattern pieces and fuse it on and then cut them out. This looks amazing.
Yes, and so I wanted to show it to you.
Yes.
She got a little bit of a glimpse before we started. So all of the pieces have heat and bond on the back, and they're laser cut right to the shape. So when you get it, and I'll give it to you, you literally just peel off the backing. This is this block right here, I believe. Yes. And so you just literally peel that off.
Look at that. And this is a lot of the, I don't know if you'd call it grunt work, but a lot of the not as fun part of making these projects is to trace them all and get them cut out. So this is amazing.
It's an essential part of it.
It is.
But if we could possibly skip that step.
Make it a little, and it's just perfect.
Exactly. And I know some ladies have difficulty with the scissors.
Yes.
Their hands may be arthritic or
Yes.
just crampy.
Yeah.
And you never get the line quite as smooth
Yes.
as you might want.
Exactly.
And so the pre-fused laser cut kits are so fun and so quick.
Just amazing.
Yeah, great technology.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew you could use a laser for that purpose? So let's look at the quilt. It's you broke it apart in a 4-month program, correct?
Yes.
And so
The first one is the sleigh ride up there, and on each pattern also it gives you an alternate way to use the block if you don't want to put it into this.
right, I remember you showed us that in.
Yeah, this one, this is the bottom block here.
Okay.
And you can also just make it into a table runner if you don't want to do the whole thing. So it gives you a way to finish it
Nice.
just with the one block.
Okay, great. And then on the back you show an image of the full quilt.
Yeah.
And so all of these cute button embellishments, I just absolutely had so much fun. And then on this was particularly,
Yeah.
I noticed how many beads I put on my arm.
You put a lot of sugar
I
on your
put a
sugar.
lot of sugar
Got the
on my
sweet tooth
Christmas
there.
ornament. Now notice this quilt has a lot of half square triangle units in it. And Bonnie has a unique technique in her pattern that
If you're going to make a lot of half square triangles that are the same two fabrics, it works
Okay.
really well.
So we would use the technique that you'll be showing us. If we need to make just a couple, that probably not be.
no.
But
Yeah.
if we're going to do
All
this
the same,
many.
yeah.
So we are going to get started on that project and learn more about how Bonnie likes to make her half square triangle units.
I'm going to show now this technique that I use to make a lot of half square triangles, that if you're using the same two fabrics for the half square triangles, you can get a lot very easily in a very short amount of time. Because one of my least favorite things to do is square up square triangles after I've done it the
Yes.
traditional way.
And draw that line.
Draw the line,
Yes.
cut them apart, and then you've got to square them up, because I never do the, just increase it by 2 7/8 inch.
Yes. So you increase it by an inch and then
inch.
square it up. That
Yes.
sounds like me.
Yes,
Especially
yes.
when I'm making pinwheels.
Exactly, because
Yes.
I want it to
Okay.
be exact.
Great,
So
great.
I just layer the two pieces of fabric together, and then I use my 24-inch ruler that has a 45-degree angle on it to get my first cut. So you can just line that up somewhere where your ruler stretches all the way across and make your first cut. It doesn't have to be precise. And once you've got the first cut, then I cut 2 1/4-inch strips, cut it apart like this, using this for my line. So you cut the next strip and cut the whole piece into 2 1/4-inch strips. So these cuts that you've made are now on the bias, so you want to be really careful not to stretch them.
Right.
So I just take the strips to my machine and sew 1/4 inch on both sides. So you end up with a whole bunch of these. And you can do it all the way down to the little parts.
Wow, great.
And then if you have a 2 1/2-inch square triangle or square, it's great. You can use a bigger one, it's not a problem. They even have a little line going straight across the middle.
They do.
Yeah.
That's an omni-grid?
Omni-grid,
Okay.
or you don't even need to have it as long as you measure 2 1/2 inches in. You line that line up on the sewn seam.
So not the raw edge, but the sewn
The
seam.
sewn seam, and you want to
Okay.
make sure there's that fabric. And then all you do is cut on both sides.
Just be careful of those fingers, huh?
Be careful of your fingers,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, you are getting close.
And then you
Oh
have
my
a perfect, and then
gosh.
you can just,
That is
there
so
might be a different way, but
easy.
you can flip it back and forth, and now you've just got
That's
basically the
amazing.
one. Yeah, and so you just go back and forth. And the edges now are on the straight of grain, so they're not going to stretch because your bias seam is this one here. So it's just like a regular.
Oh. So these are on the straight of grain.
Yes, the outside edges are.
So the main thing to be careful about is when you're cutting that you don't do any distorting or stretching.
Yeah, your main is when you're cutting and when you're sewing along the edges, keep
Okay.
it as true as you can.
So if I have a bigger ruler here, how would I use that ruler instead of the little
Okay.
one?
So this one, I just brought a little bigger one. So what you want to do is take the 2 1/2-inch mark on both sides.
Okay.
And just line that up with your seam. It's the same thing. And that still gives you, and you might have maybe one thread there that catches, but it's not a problem.
Wow.
And you will have these little tails on one side,
Right.
but they don't bother me. And I have, with the flannel, which is a little bit heavier, I've started pressing the seams open. I just
I
find
do-
there's a
I do
little,
too.
a little less bulk.
Yes, yes, especially if you're going to do a pinwheel.
Yes.
And that they're all coming together
Yes.
in the center, they kind of have almost a bump.
Yeah.
So I do shorten my stitch length.
Yeah.
Do you shorten so that it doesn't weaken when you press the seam open?
No, but that's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's something
That's
I've
a great
learned.
idea,
I've learned
yeah.
that if I have my regular stitch length, that it kind of splays open a little bit when I open up the
Yeah.
seam. So now if I make a mistake, it's a little bit harder to seam rip. But it sounds like with this method, if you can sew that 1/4 inch,
Oh, yeah.
you know, very carefully along the
Yes.
edge and cut very carefully, being mindful of not, you know, cutting
Yeah.
yourself. This is a really fast
Because
way.
you could get as many as this whole thing is done very, very fast. And as opposed to
Wow.
taking the 2 squares that you draw the line, sew on both sides, cut it
Okay.
apart, press it open, trim it, this is really easy.
Fantastic. So get the 2 layers together, right size. Just I need to
Yep.
recap this. So hopefully when you make less, you know, Birdie Spring, which I keep
hope so.
encouraging Bonnie, please make Birdie Spring, Summer, and Fall, because this is just too
I
cute.
think I might. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
So because this is a technique that I want to try
Yeah.
when we make the sample quilt for
Yes.
that. So I'll put the 2 layers right side together. Get the ruler with the 45 mark on
Or
it.
anyway, you can, come up with your 45. It's right here.
Okay, and then cut 2 1/4 inch
2
strips.
1/4.
But then with my ruler, I'll be cutting
2 1/2.
2 1/2 inch, and then I don't need to
No.
trim anything up. It's just
No,
ready to go.
that's perfect. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Bonnie. That step right there is going to save time.
It saves a lot of time.
And it sounds like it's really accurate.
Yes, and it
so-
only took me years
did
to
you-
learn about this.
did
And it's not unique to me. I have seen it somewhere, and I couldn't even tell you
But
where.
it's not taught. And
No,
so I
no.
am so glad that
Yeah.
you shared that with us today. So thank you again,
You're welcome.
Bonnie, for designing all of your amazing patterns and fabrics and now sharing this technique with us too.
Well, thank you for having me.
So thank you so much.